Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the celebrated podcast that explores your favorite looks in film, television, and fashion history. Through conversations with the fashion world's elite and award-winning hair, makeup, and costume designers on sets around the world, you will see and hear exciting tales from behind the scenes, career origin stories, and tons of advice and tips. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everybody, welcome to Look Behind the Look. I am finally releasing my episode with Miyako Bellizzi. This episode was recorded long ago before the movie came out, and while the movie is quite polarizing, I myself am a huge fan of Marty Supreme and am a victim of all the merchandising and am very embarrassed of what I've collected. But I will reveal it all, of course, at a later time. The costumes in the film are very, very heavily recognized, and Miyako is getting a lot of attention, an Oscar nomination, countless articles and features about her work in the film. It is undeniably gorgeous, and particular, she's a longtime collaborator with the Safdie brothers, and you've seen her work and known her work over the years, but this time it's really her that is shining, and she's impossibly gorgeous and fashionable herself, so make sure you're following her on Instagram if you're not already. Enjoy this conversation. There is a lot out there on this amazing woman, but obviously you'll always hear something that you haven't heard before when you hear one of these interviews. So I encourage you to listen and enjoy and tell me what you think. Hi, Miyako. I'm here to talk about all things Marty Supreme with you, which is the big thing on your mind right now and everyone else's. Tell me about this press tour. This is craziness. Did you sign up for this?
No, I mean, this is a wild press tour we've been on.
Marty Supreme Christmas Day on Marty Supreme Christmas Day. Marty Supreme Christmas Day. Hey, Timothy, has anything interesting happened to you in your life the last couple months? Marty Supreme Christmas Day.
It's like every night, it's like the band's back together. And so it's been really fun to be able to come back and talk about the film all together now that it's over and we've had perspective and been able to think about it for a year, and so but it is wild every night. I'm not used to doing this. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. And it's hardcore, but it's fun, You're like, it's a lot, but it's fun.
Is it the grandiose events, or is it just hanging on to Timmy, or is it, you know what I mean, like all of the energy, or is it the doing the Q&As and panel? Are you going to be at the DGA tonight for that screening in New York? Are you in New York tonight?
I am in New York tonight.
Okay.
There is a screening. I don't know which one I'm in, but yes, there's screenings every night. So that's, it's like, I don't even know. I am going to one. It's probably that one because we're all going to that one. It's anyway, but it's like that's the thing. It's like every morning I'm like, okay, let me check schedule. What am I doing today? It's like almost like a part of the, the job.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well-deserved pomp and circumstance. I love it. It's very exciting and very on brand with the energy of the film. You did Uncut Gems as well.
Mm-hmm.
So how is this one different? Is it bigger? I mean, that energy, that Safdie energy is just what I love so much. And it's behind the scenes as well. Yeah. It's
yes, it is
on film
it
and
really
behind the scenes.
is. I think, and that's something that I've come to realize. I think we all have this energy and lust for life and lust for like characters. And I think that's what makes Josh such a special filmmaker is that, he kind of brings this energy, but he's so excited about everything and the projects and every department. He cares so much about all of us and what we're doing. And we hold ourselves at such a high standard, I think. And also riff off of each other and how we're inspired by each other and all have this excitement for the project and each other's work. That's kind of the similarity of Gems. They're different worlds, but we have this excitement for the story and the characters involved in them. Obviously it's very different also in the fact that it's like period versus present day. Adam Sandler, obviously very different from Timmy, it's just like working a lot bigger, and the number of people for sure that are in this film, but also with the period.
Yeah, you had so
There's
much
a lot
background.
of cast.
Hmm.
background and cast, principal cast too. You know, it's like when you think about, I talked to Jen about this last night. We were like, in my mind, it's 136 principal characters, but she was
Oh
like, no, I
my
think it was like
God.
150 by the end. And I was like,
Oh
yeah,
my
probably more like
God.
150 speaking roles, which is a lot for a film, you know, and usually
100%.
films, you know, there's typically like 30 to
Right.
50, you know what I'm saying? In a normal film, just for in terms of scale, it's hard to kind of think about like in my previous films, you know, you have like four kind of main characters and then there's
Yeah.
background or like, you know, there's, but
Everybody
this one
else.
was massive in that sense where, you know, there's just
Right.
so many people in this movie. There's incredible cameos and it's just, you know, every day was
Yeah.
exciting in the sense that with the casting, Jen and I worked closely together. You
The
know, she'd be
casting
casting
director.
someone, and
Hmm.
yeah, and the casting director, and she would send me someone, and I think that really informs the work, and we'd be so inspired by someone, and you know, or if someone
Because
came in that, yeah,
yeah, both of you pride yourself on authenticity.
mm-hmm,
Her with the casting and then you dressing. And it was interesting. So I saw Josh say something about you about how what's in the character's closet or laying on the bed is as important as what's coming out of their mouth. So you guys are really symbiotic about creating that
yeah,
world for each character. So to create that many specific, authentic characters is amazing, amazing
yeah.
work.
I mean, if we could, we would do it with all the background also, because they're just as important to us, and
$100.
um I think that's another big thing about Josh and his work is that he cares about background
Yeah.
and they're important to him and they're just almost as important as uh, our main cast and everyone is special and that really shows in the film. So though even though and I think that really helps inform it's like you'll see these cameos of people when he's like walking by someone and they're just like you're like whoa what is that you know
They
and
just
so
pop. Hmm.
yeah.
That's
That's
great.
important to show that, you know, it was like everyone is layered and everyone has a backstory. And that's what we really feed off of in terms of characters in life. Um, and we just are so inspired. I think all of us share that. Josh, Jen, Vendetti, and I, it's like we share that about people and how sometimes you have an idea of a character once Jen finds the face and and then you meet them in person and you see who they are in real
Right.
life.
That
And
adds,
then that could also inform the character, you know, because you want them to be themselves or
right.
feel themselves, you know. A lot of these actors are kind of non-actors, you
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
There's a mix. There's a big mix, and so
I
and
love
having
that.
that humility in working with both, you know, like Gwyneth Paltrow versus someone who's never acted before, and they're in a scene together. I think in the fitting room is where a lot of things get unpacked, you know, and they come
Ah,
into me after they're cast, they see me first, you know, and so then a lot of times I don't even know what they're doing. You know, you kind of have to like
yep.
introduce them to this life and like, okay, we're doing a fitting. This is your character. I really like to try to talk them through, um, you know, like the scene and how what they're wearing will inform, you know, the scene. And
Right.
I always
Right.
want people to be comfortable and feel good in what they're wearing.
The Gwyneth creation, the Gwyneth Paltrow costumes, I mean, everybody is talking about them and everyone's
Oh
excited and
yeah.
admiring
She
your
was my
work.
favorite.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
And so I was reading a little bit about your research and how you went to the Met to research the Dior archives. And I wanted to know what that experience was like and what led you there and how that played out.
I mean, there was so much research that we needed to do
I
for this
bet.
film. You know, it's a lot of research and but with no that's actually the
The
best
fun
part for
part, you
me.
love it.
That's the fun part is when you're really thinking and you're
Yeah.
the creative freedom of like there's so many characters and even with casting it's like not that you could put something somewhere, it's like you have this idea or like you get inspired like oh I love this thing I can put it on this person because there's that such a wide range of characters in this film. But with Gwyneth specifically she's kind of the only one in the film that is of this, you know, character, like where she's in high society, she has access to these clothes and in
Right.
going to the DR, you know, I wanted to be sure. There's also it was such an emergence in the fashion world at that time, and things were changing, and the
Yes.
new look and Dior. It was that exact period, 1952. it's an interesting year because there's a new wave of all of these young new designers. And I mean, now obviously they're household names, but Givenchy, Balenciaga, Dior, they're all these like young designers who were just creating these houses. It was a very exciting time. And they're changing this look and the shapes and silhouettes of the fashion, the industry at
Mhm.
that time. And I, I'm really inspired by that. There's other films I've worked on that have inspired that era specifically, and I love the 50s and that new look, and to be able to show that within Gwyneth's clothes was like a dream come true to me. But then it's also like, I want to do a nod, but not necessarily do the exact, like I didn't want it obviously to be exactly like the reference of what we think of as like the Dior
Ah,
dress with the white,
yeah,
there's
it
certain
has to be
images that
her
come to
own.
mind. Yeah, and like also within her character, I don't know
Hmm.
if it made sense. I think it's good to have that knowledge, but I
Interesting.
don't know yet if she had caught on. I think times were slower then. There's obviously not the internet, so it's like even though she's a worldly person and she does travel the world, she would have been invited, but I don't know if necessarily she was one of the women that would be in that room ordering a dress
Got it.
from Dior. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, maybe she's a little outside of that. Maybe, and so
Wow, that's
what are some of
detail.
the designers that she would buy or she would be interested
Yeah.
in? Like the Madame Grey, it's like maybe it was more of the like 30s dress, like 30s designer, 40s designers that then are adopting this new, but not necessarily that. To me, the new look Dior was almost like not revolutionary, but it was very new and very different, especially right then. Like 1952 is like some of Givenchy's, I feel like second collection. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like maybe she hadn't caught on yet, but she's like she has seen it and she's inspired by it. But
Right. But
maybe
she
she
has
hasn't. She's not
a,
there. Like I wanted to keep her almost like timeless and kind of chic in that sense that she's
right.
just kind of classic, she's
Yeah.
not young, she's not like in her 30s, she's in her 50s, she's established that she knows herself as a woman.
How did you deal with her being so like recognizable, iconic, like a Julia Roberts problem? Like, how do you
Yeah,
make her erase or individualize it for this film? I mean, you can't erase it. So what do you do?
can't erase it. And there are certain films that she's been in with like for example that the Royal Tenenbaums, the fur coat. So there's
Right.
something like that where in some of her previous roles where I was like, okay, we can't go there because that's two Royal Tenenbaums. Or she's just been in so many
Uh-huh.
iconic Great Expectations, that the green.
Right.
When you think of Gwyneth Paltrow,
Interesting.
you think of certain things about her films that are so iconic
Right.
and
Right.
in fashion. And so how can I be different in this film? Obviously she's a different character, but um, I remember that fur coat specifically, for
Of
example,
course.
was
Yeah.
like, we can't give her a mink coat. That's like, because I wanted to give her fur that's realistic for the time period,
Uh-huh.
but I'm like, no,
Right.
maybe we won't do fur for this, for when she's walking in
Yeah.
the lobby.
That
I
I
think
would have
maybe
never
we'll
thought of
figure
that.
something out. Yeah, there's things like that. Realistically, women of that time period would be wearing fur coats.
Yeah.
Like if
Right.
she's coming out from outside from the lobby, just checking in, she would be in a full length fur. But I was like, we can achieve this without the fur. She wears a
Yeah.
fur once when she's like walking through, because I wanted to show it a little bit, like
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
peek of it.
Yeah.
When she goes to Marty's room in the
Right.
hotel, you
Right.
see a little peek of it, but
Right.
with the
Right. Right.
lingerie under, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna do that. But
We're doing this.
um, mhm.
Timothy Chalamet's style is, how did this come together?
When I first met Timmy, he had just finished Dylan.
Oh.
And so, for me, that was a transformation.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the first few fittings, I was like, okay, like we gotta figure something out. Like because I think it was like the Dylan hair had just come out, and I was like, how could we transform Dylan to Marty?
Sure. Yeah.
It was almost that transformation more than Timmy himself to
Okay.
Marty.
That's really
Um,
interesting.
what are some of the things stylistically that we can do um to make him different than we've ever really seen him,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think we've ever seen him in a
No,
role quite like this.
no,
Um,
no.
and I think Timmy himself does inform the character in the way that not the way that he views himself, but I do think there's similarities to Timmy and his lust for life and like wanting, like he talks about being great. And I think that's very Marty
For
also.
sure. For
And
sure.
striving to be the best. The biggest sign for me, though, how I wanted to show it was through his suiting. I talk about that. Like
Yes.
he works in a shoe store. He hates his job. He doesn't want, that's not him. So he wants to be as far away from that as possible. And that's where
Right.
we open up to his character is that. And then, it's like, but then it's scripted, but there's the suit that he takes to London. To me, that suit is kind of this I want to say like not microcosm, but it's like this suit is who he wants to be. This is the man he wants to be. And so that suit was really important to me because that's a suit that he goes traveling. He feels like a different person in that suit,
Yes.
I was thinking about he's from the Lower East Side. He's a kid. He's a hustler. Who are the people he's around? Who is he influenced by? Who is he looking at? Who on the street is he looking up to who is his reference point of like
Right.
where he sees himself as,
Right.
and so that was something I had to think about for him. And also in terms of style, like where is he getting his style ideas from? Because I wanted him to obviously be different, have a different sense of style than most guys his age, I think. And that's why I gave him such a grown-up suit. I wanted him to be almost think not that he's a gangster, but like kind of give him that kind of shape of like those are the guys he's looking at, like the wise
Mm-hmm.
guys of the Lower East Side, or
Mm-hmm.
like that were hanging out kind of in the misfit hall of Lawrence's, and maybe those are the suits that he kind of thinks is like that's how when you've made it, you're wearing that
For
type
sure.
of double-breasted peak lapel suit. It's like, with
Yep.
the wide shoulders. And there was something too about that suit specifically. I remember once we like added the shoulder pads, like there that changed the way you walked, like
Oh,
it's really
I'm sure.
interesting when you're in a fitting, you're trying on a bunch of different suits and you're just to get ideas for shapes. And then you see something that really transforms his shape of his body. It's
Right,
like
right.
and the way he walks, he just looks important, or like, he doesn't look like a kid. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, like he's a kid in this film, like he's supposed to only be like early 20s,
23.
like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so like was this kid wearing this like grown-up suit, but it
Cute.
made sense, not that it's a grown-up suit, but you know what I'm
No, I
saying,
know. I
like
totally know. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Dress
um
for the job you want when
exactly. And like
stepping
he's
into
going
this
there and he's
life.
going into London and this is what
Yes.
he wants and this is the kind of man he wants to
He's
present
gonna
himself
get
as.
it.
And
Yeah.
you,
When you are talking about like what inspires his character and when you're picking the suit and you're talking about
hmm
how not the actor but the character, what inspires that character's styling. Are you discussing that with the actors or are you discussing it with the costuming and then bringing it to the actor?
at first it's with Josh,
Okay,
and it's something
very
like,
cool.
I'm experimenting. I'll be in a fitting, and I
Right.
start playing around. And I do speak, I am talking to Timmy, obviously. Like
Right, right,
we're
right.
talking back and forth during the fitting. How does it
What
feel?
about this?
Like,
Yes.
hmm and having a lot of fun. We had a lot of really great, we had so many fittings, but
Oh.
he's such a professional. He's so patient. I'd be like, let's keep trying, I'm like, let's keep going
I,
3 hour
I mean,
fittings.
what's the
No, but
longest
like,
one that there was? Were they hours?
yeah, they're hours
Hours, yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, but he's just as invested in this
Yeah,
as we all are. I mean, it's really informative. Actors,
of course.
I will say they love fittings because it does transform you. You put something on and it does transform you as an actor. And
Yeah.
um sometimes you have to like sit and live with it. But yeah, I would talk to Josh mostly about the um the looks afterwards, because then,
Hmm.
we take a bunch of pictures. You need time to digest it. You need to look through it and then like what was right. Because in the moment, sometimes you find it in the moment, but sometimes you need to like look back.
Takes
Also,
a minute.
there's so many different changes. He has, I don't know, over 27 or something changes in this film. And so it's like, okay, or it's just figuring out the continuity of like, okay,
Oh,
what can we do
yes.
here? There's this
Hmm.
one scene, maybe it's this outfit, or going back to it and being like, okay, we've seen him in a suit here, then here. So it's kind of filling in the blanks. I think
Right.
that too is is an interesting part of the process no one really talks about, where it's like, like I had the idea for the suit. We found the suit. Okay, so then what is it now?
Leading
His
up to the
casual look.
suit.
Yeah, leading up to the suit. Now that we found that, I remember that being a pivotal
Mm.
thing. We found that in a session, in a fitting.
You
Um,
found
the suit, like that in real
it just
time, I
dropped.
remember. And Josh was with me, and we were like, wow, like there's something about
That's
the shape of
exciting.
this specific suit that we found it. Like this is it. Like this is
That's
great.
there's an arc obviously for each character, and
Yeah.
you're telling the story costume wise as well, which is amazing. It doesn't just stay at the same level for the whole movie for you. That's really
No,
cool.
yeah. And with
Yeah.
each character, even Gwyneth's character,
Yeah.
for example, it's like, we obviously shoot out of sequence, but you need to know kind of what that arc is before we get into
Yeah.
it, before we start shooting, because then you kind of have an idea, even if there's missing pieces or like there's an outfit here that you haven't figured out because we're not shooting that till 3 months from
Right.
now, right? You kind of have to have an idea of what that arc is, um, or what most of the outfits are when you finish prep. And so, um, that was, like Gwyneth, for example, and her color palette. I wanted to start her off in like black and white to kind of show like not what she was going through, but her character, and then how she became more colorful by the end. Like that was something that
Yes.
was I wanted to show.
That really showed.
So,
Yeah.
and how
Wow.
something about Marty sparked something inside of her. We don't, and that was something too I had to think about within her character. Like
When that would
what is
happen.
it? Yeah, or like what is it about Marty, or like that brings this like life to her, and why?
It's so interesting. I don't know how people are going to react to seeing Marty, the way he lives his life and way he goes for it is really going to be something to see the public accept or
Yeah,
question.
but I
Yeah.
do think we all can, I certainly did connect with parts of his character,
Yeah.
in the sense that, I think about when you are younger, and you're at that moment where you're trying to figure out where your life is going, but having this idea of yourself, or like where you see yourself, and you're so, I think I not to say I used to have this like lust for life, but there's something about kind of just like risking it all, or like doing whatever,
Oh
you're
my
kind of a little
God.
more free in that sense, in terms of you're not really like there's that scene where it's like you're not really thinking, he's not thinking about the future in that, so he's thinking about like he's so in the moment, but he's
Yeah.
thinking about like he doesn't actually have a real job, you know what I'm saying, or like
Right,
thinking about the
right.
longevity of this dream he
It's all
has.
here. Yeah.
And that to me is not juvenile, but like, that's something that
Beautiful.
when you're in a young mind, you have that. But obviously, as you get
100%.
older, the realities, right, of life, and that's kind of the evolution of the story. It's like,
Right.
that's you kind of grow up a little bit, and you realize, okay, I have to pay rent, I have a car, he has
Yes.
a baby,
Kills your
there are
joy,
certain things
kills
that
you.
happen in your
Yeah.
life, yeah, that determine how your life will end, and so
I mean,
um
that's what I love about Safdie films, and like both of them, just are the best at it. And that they
mhm.
surround and create the crew that all has those ethos and that, you know, joy and love for life. It all is on the screen, and the authenticity is just unrivaled. I mean, they're the best at it, and so
Yeah.
you really killed it. I'm just so
Thank
excited for
you.
what's to come for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be
it's
a great
dream.
ride,
I know, dream project. We've all been back together. We're all like, okay, we're ready for the next one. Okay, now I'm
right?
excited again. Like,
Let's go
when are
through
we
hell
doing?
again.
Yeah,
Let's do
yeah,
it
I
again.
know.
I don't remember any of the challenges. I don't remember
Yeah, I
any of the bad
know.
days.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure to talk about the characters again. Yeah, in this
Oh,
movie. It's really special.
yeah.
It's a really special one. So
Yeah.
I think it shows too how much heart
Absolutely.
we put into it all together.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's great. I'm so excited for the world to see it. It's going to be really, really interesting to
Yeah,
see it
same.
this
I
ride.
know.
Yeah.
I
I love
know. I'm
it.
so excited for this month. In a week from now, everyone will be able
Oh,
to see it.
Merry
So
Christmas,
it's very
everybody.
exciting. I know.
Oh, Miyako, thank you so much for talking to me. Jason
Yeah,
is
of course.
saying you're on he's saying 5-minute warning, so I'll let you get ready for your next
Okay,
thing,
thank you
and you
so
busy
much. It's been so
woman.
nice talking to you. I
So
know.
great
It's
talking to you
fun
too.
though.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been such
Take
a
care.
fun
I'll talk
ride.
to you again, and congratulations
Okay,
again.
thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Bye. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Victoria Pastorelli. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at Look Behind Pod and Instagram at Look Behind the Look. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.